Hey y'all, let's talk about Fall of the House of Usher. So, this is one of my absolute favorite pieces. I don't know, I guess I'm dark, I don't know. But, so, I love this piece. I tore it apart. I think you probably should have used a dictionary if you didn't, because some of these words, phantasmagoric, big word. Anyway, I want to talk about a few things. The narrator, number one, do we trust him? That was your response question, so we're going to talk about that, obviously. What is going on with Roderick and Madeline? And actually, that's most of it. So there's two things. There's a couple little things, but one leads into another. So, anyway, so do I trust the narrator? Heck no, I don't trust that guy. Number one, his descriptions are kind of crazy. I mean, if you just look at everything he does, like the first description where he has this house that had this overwhelming sense of dread. All right, man, that seems a little heavy-handed for a description, don't you think? Okay, so, just dramatic, whatever. Okay, but a bigger one, I think, is that he may be a drug addict. And you're like, Hunter, why would you think he's a drug addict? Well, if you did some close reading, you'd probably know why. So, if you go with me to page 654, sorry, I have my book over there, there are a few little places. Number one, he describes the trees, and he says they're decaying, but he describes them as, on 654, saying they had an utter depression of the soul that I can compare to no earthly sensation more properly than to the after dream of a reveler on opium. Okay, so, one. My question is, I mean, how does he know what an after dream of a reveler on opium is unless he's done the opium, right? Now put that together with some of his descriptions. You're like, well, Hunter, that's just one little thing. No, actually, he says it again. He talks about opium again. On page 657, he says, he's talking about Roderick at this point and like the sounds Roderick's making. So he mentions this when he's describing Roderick's voice. He describes it as 657, a self-balanced and perfectly modulated guttural utterance which may be observed in the moments of the intensest excitement of a lost drunkard or irreclaimable eater of opium. I'm sorry, these are long quotes. Another thing you probably noticed about this piece is he just goes on and on. But, okay, now, two, and like the way he describes it, the intensest moment of a reveler on opium, I'm just thinking drug addict, just got it on there. I haven't read too much that says that, so again, this is my opinion, but that's one of the biggest reasons I don't trust him. Okay, remember that. Then, also, I don't know how much he knows Roderick. Because it says, basically, he hadn't seen this kid who was his really good friend when he was little. He hasn't seen him in years and years. And so then he's like, you're my best friend, come over. Man, I have one friend who I had when I was little. Maybe if she called me, I'd probably do it. But I know her, you know? Like, I can think of everybody I sat beside in kindergarten, and I don't know those people. And so I think that if you look back, why would you pick this one person you hung out with in school? So there's that. Also, though, our narrator, who, first person unnamed, our narrator didn't even know Roderick had a sister. That's weird too. And then, one of the things I noticed, he uses the word hypochondriac over and over and over again to describe Roderick. And so it seems like he almost doesn't like him. You know, a hypochondriac basically means somebody who thinks they're sick when they're not. So, I don't know. I don't know if I trust him. Does it matter? Yeah, yes and no. I mean, if we don't trust him at all, then nothing means nothing, whatever. But if we trust him completely, I don't know that that's really good either. Does it change the effect of the story? A little bit. Not tons. I mean, I do think there are certain things in here that are important, and we'll get there. Okay, so let's talk about something even more twisted. Roderick and Madeline. Okay, they're twins, right? Okay, twins. I don't know if y'all picked up on this, but they're also inbred. Yeah. And you say to me, Hunter, again, I don't have a clue. Well, we have to look to the text again, because I don't just make these crazy things up, I promise. But if you go to page 655, it's such a great quote. It's long, and that's why some of my students miss it, because they don't say a ton in there. But he is talking about, our narrator is talking about the Usher family line. And he says on page 655, I learned too the very remarkable fact that the stem of the Usher race, all time honored as it was, had put forth at no time any enduring branch. In other words, the entire family lay in the direct line of descent and had always, with very trifling and very temporary variation, so lain. You're like, huh, what? Okay, but here's what's basically going on. If you draw a family tree, you have stems. That means your family stemmed out and married another person. Says their family tree had put forth no period, any enduring branch. So basically, family tree is a straight line. There's no outside people in their family tree. So that means they're having sex with each other. And that can explain some of the problems these two have. Again, we have to figure out what's going on with the narrator too, but so that can explain some of the problems they have as well. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. Okay, so what's wrong with them? Because it seems like they both have a disease, and I feel like both of these diseases are a little bit vague. So we have Roderick, who has an acuteness of the senses. So basically that means his senses are very sharp. Something that's really a bright light would bother his eyes. He actually says he can't touch anything but like silk because it hurts his skin. He can't hear anything but like harps because it just grates his ears. So it's like everything is overwhelmingly sensical to him. So there's that. Interestingly, Madeline seems to have the opposite. Yeah, if you read it, because she has this thing called catalepsy, which means I think she just goes into comas. She goes into comas, and they can't wake her up for a while. So a few little things that are great there. Number one, he has too many senses, and she doesn't have enough, which works really great with that whole twin dynamic. Love it. I don't know. So now, the one thing with this catalepsy, basically going into a coma once in a while, you can't move her. One of the things about this, though, is she has this little rosy thing on her cheeks, right? Okay, that's important because that's how they know whether or not she's dead. Okay, now, our narrator had never actually seen her in a cataleptical fit. He saw her walk, kind of like a ghost already, walk through, and then he saw her after she was dead. And we'll go to that description in a second. But all these questions make me wonder a few things. Number one, man, did Roderick kill her? We know he killed her. Okay, we know he killed her. Did Roderick mean to kill her? He seems like he's like, oh, that was an accident. No, I really do believe he meant to kill her. Again, this is my perspective, but I think he meant to kill her. And there's a few little things. When they're dead, or when she's dead, our narrator goes with him to visit this tomb, and it's like a dungeon under the house. And he goes with her, or goes with our narrator to see her. And he says that she has a mockery of a faint blush on her cheek. So if she has the blush on her cheek, how do we... she's dead. I don't think she's dead. I don't think she's dead there. I think our narrator wouldn't have known, and I think Roderick would have known. He would have known the difference, but our narrator wouldn't. Okay? Also, if her cheeks are rosy and there's just a mockery, how would they have known the difference between one cataleptical fit, where her heart slowed down quite a bit, and being dead? I said they weren't giving her enough time to wake up. So there's that. I think, how would you know? I don't think there is any way to know. Number three, why wouldn't Roderick bury her? Instead, they have a family plot. It's out there. He says he's afraid of people coming and robbing the grave, but whatever. It just seems weird. So what I think, and again, under conspiracy theory crazy, what I think is that Roderick meant to kill her, and that explains some of his crazy actions before, like leading up to and after her death. Like he knew she was buried under there. And if you think about it, it does make sense, because when he starts to hear those noises, he's like agitated, more and more agitated, until whatever happens at the end. We'll get there. So, fine. Okay, Roderick killed her. He tricked our narrator into helping. Oh, that's fine. However, we have to kind of start to think to ourselves then, why? Why would he want her dead? If they are inbred, which they are, I feel like I know it, I'll say 98% sure, she may have been basically evidence of their crime, you know? So if he killed her, then he wouldn't have to feel that guilt of being incestuous with a sister. I can't find too much in here that makes me think they ever had sex, but I do think his parents were brother and sister. And I think they were twins, and you may say, well, it's weird to get twins and twins and twins, but I feel like if you're only going through the line, everybody's a twin. I could see the likeliness, and go with me, we're in fiction town, so it's just a ride to crazy town anyway. Okay, so there's that, and the only thing that I see really that helps me figure that out is maybe on 660. We have this weird little part in the middle where we go to a poem. And this poem seems like it's describing the family. And there are a few places that I think seem really weird, and I'm not even going to go there with you. I'm going to let you go myself. Go there yourself. My students say, that's a little reaching. But if you go back, think about the incest, number one. Number two, think especially stanza number 4, okay? Just let your dirty mind work for a second, okay? I'm not gonna say much more. Let your dirty mind work and see if you can see something that seems a little sexual in there. I can, absolutely, I read into it, and especially, you can look again, but he talks about troops of echoes. Echoes are basically sounds bouncing off something, but they're a repetition of the same thing. And so twins after twins after twins would have been echoes. Look at number 4, man. And if you think that I just have a dirty mind, I apologize ahead of time, but whatever. Okay, and so we have that. So maybe she's evidence of her crime. Now, I also have some more questions that make me question our narrator. Okay, so how does Roderick Usher die? It's vague, man. It's super vague. And y'all can say, well, he was scared to death. Well, that's what our narrator says. But basically, it looks like Madeline has crawled her little way. She's clawed her little way out of the tomb. She comes up there, and then she gets in there, and Roderick drops dead. I mean, that's what it looks like. There's like a little tornado, and Roderick drops dead, and the house falls down. To me, there is no real reason that either one of those two things, there's no reason for why they happen. I mean, you don't just drop dead, I guess, of fright. And I think this goes a little bit more to Poe's writing style. One of the things he does is he goes into great detail about some things and then no detail at all about other things. So basically, he didn't really tell us. He'll go into detail upon detail about Roderick's illness, but then he won't tell us anything about how they died. And this happens if you go back and read Telltale Heart. He tells us forever and ever and ever about this old man and how he sticks his head in the door to kill the old man. But then he doesn't even tell us how he kills him. We have to guess. And so this kind of happens the same way here. That's really one part of Poe's style, so that's one thing. But it also leads us to like question the narrator too. Okay? So I hope you have enjoyed going to Crazy Town with me. Dark. Follow the House of Usher. Okay, y'all have a good week. Bye.